On April 20, 2007, a 12-meter catamaran was spotted drifting unmanned in the Coral Sea off Queensland, Australia, near the outer reaches of the Great Barrier Reef. Her engine was running. Navigation lights were on. Sails were neatly furled. No one was visible on deck. The Australian Coast Guard dispatched a boarding party to investigate what appeared to be a routine case of a vessel adrift. The weather that week had been favorable: light winds, mild seas, clear visibility. The catamaran Cas 2 was well maintained and equipped for coastal cruising. She had left Airlie Beach 2 days earlier with 3 men aboard for what should have been an ordinary weekend sailing trip through familiar waters near the outer reef. The Coral Sea was quiet. The conditions gave no reason for concern. What the boarding party was about to discover would turn this routine maritime check into one of Australia's most disturbing unsolved cases at sea. The boat belonged to Derek Batten, a 56-year-old retired electrical engineer from Perth. Batten had owned the Cas 2 for years and was meticulous about her upkeep, the kind of sailor who checked every system twice before leaving port. He had sailed these waters many times before. His companions were brothers Peter and James Tunstead, both experienced mariners in their 60s, with decades of combined sailing experience. The 3 men had set out for what should have been a straightforward weekend voyage through waters they knew well. Batten had planned their route along the outer reef, a passage he had navigated before without incident. The conditions were ideal. The boat was seaworthy. The crew was capable. Everything pointed toward a safe, uneventful trip. Not one of the 3 men would ever be seen again. When the Coast Guard climbed aboard the Cas 2, the first thing they noticed was the engine. It was still running at idle. The GPS was powered on, locked on its last recorded course. A laptop sat open on the galley counter, its screen still glowing. Below deck, a meal had been partially prepared. Food laid out, plates set, the galley ready for a dinner that would never be served. A fishing line trailed from the stern. The sails were properly furled. The radio was functional. The anchor was secured. Sunglasses rested on the dashboard. A hat hung on its hook. Everything aboard suggested a crew in the middle of an ordinary afternoon, fishing, preparing dinner, enjoying the crossing. Except the crew was gone. There was no damage anywhere on the vessel, no blood, no signs of struggle. Derek Batten and the Tunstead brothers had vanished from a fully operational catamaran in calm seas, leaving behind a boat frozen mid-routine. The nearest land was miles away. The life jackets stopped investigators cold. All 3 were still in their storage positions, untouched. If anyone had gone overboard, if there had been any kind of emergency, these should have been the first things grabbed. Not one had been moved. The emergency flares were stowed and unused. No EPIRB distress beacon had been activated. No SOS had been transmitted on the radio. Whatever had happened aboard the Cas 2, it had occurred fast enough, or suddenly enough, that 3 experienced sailors had not reached for a single piece of safety equipment. There was one device on board that might have captured the truth. A security camera had been mounted on the vessel to record activity on deck. Investigators retrieved the system and reviewed the footage. The camera had malfunctioned. The recording was completely blank. The only mechanical witness had captured nothing. The Queensland State Coroner opened a formal inquiry in 2008. The investigation examined the vessel, the weather data, the tidal conditions, and every piece of equipment aboard. Every scenario was tested.
The coroner's most likely theory was a chain drowning. One man had been fishing from the stern when he either hooked something large or lost his balance and fell overboard. The other two saw him fall and rushed to help, but neither grabbed a life jacket or a flotation device. In the panic, one or both went in after him. Without flotation in those currents, all three went under.
But the coroner was careful to frame this as an educated guess, not a proven conclusion. The physical evidence that might have confirmed it had already scattered across the ocean during the 3 days before the CAS-2 was found.
If one man fell, why didn't the others radio for help first? Why throw no flotation device? Why were all 3 life jackets still hanging untouched? The waters around the outer Great Barrier Reef are deep, shark-infested, and swept by powerful currents that would have carried any bodies away within hours. By the time the CAS-2 was found drifting 3 days later, whatever evidence might have explained the truth had already vanished into the depths. The case closed not with answers, but with a collection of details that refused to form a coherent picture. 3 experienced sailors, calm conditions, a functioning boat still running, a meal being prepared, life jackets left untouched, a security camera that recorded nothing, no distress call, no bodies ever recovered.
Derek Batten, Peter Tunstead, and James Tunstead set out from Airlie Beach for a routine weekend. Only the Catamaran came back.
3 men had vanished from a running boat in calm seas, and no investigation could piece together why. But at least the CAS-2 had a name, an owner, a documented history. 1 year earlier, another vessel had been found drifting off the same stretch of Australian coast, and this one had none of that. No name on the hull, no flag, no record of ever having existed at all.
In 2006, Australian maritime authorities spotted a large tanker drifting in the Coral Sea off Queensland, the kind of vessel that required a full crew and dedicated port infrastructure to operate. From a distance, it appeared to be a routine case of a ship adrift. A patrol was dispatched to assess the situation. But as the boarding party drew closer, something was deeply wrong. The vessel bore no flag, no markings on the hull, no name or registration number anywhere. It was massive, completely anonymous, and silent. No one answered the radio hails. No one appeared on deck. Ships this size do not simply materialize. They are constructed over months in major shipyards by hundreds of workers, registered with flag states, classified by international maritime societies, insured through underwriters, and tracked by agencies from the moment construction begins. Every voyage gets logged, every port visit recorded. This vessel had somehow bypassed the entire system. Its hull showed heavy weathering, rust streaking down the sides, salt damage visible everywhere, suggesting it had been adrift for a considerable time. When the team boarded, the emptiness was absolute. No crew anywhere. No cargo in the holds. The bridge was stripped bare. The ship's wheels stood untouched, but every chart, logbook, and navigational instrument was gone. If navigational equipment had ever been installed, someone had removed it. The galley held no food, no cooking equipment, no provisions. The sleeping quarters were equally barren, bunks stripped, lockers empty. Whoever had sailed this vessel had methodically removed every trace of themselves before leaving, or nothing had ever been there to begin with.
The ship felt less recently abandoned than deliberately erased, as if someone had walked through each compartment and eliminated anything that could reveal its identity. There were no signs of struggle, fire, or collision. No clue about what happened to the crew.
A faded name was painted on the hull: Jian Seng. Investigators recorded it and began searching every maritime database they could access. They searched Lloyd's of London, the International Maritime Organization, national registries across dozens of countries, insurance databases, construction records, and port logs spanning Southeast Asia to the Pacific. Nothing came back. The name Jian Seng did not exist in any shipping record anywhere in the world. The Australian Maritime Safety Authority launched a formal investigation, contacting every major flag state and searching construction records globally. No country claimed ownership. No company reported a missing vessel matching this description. No port had any record of the Jian Seng ever docking in their harbor. When investigators searched the vessel's compartments for standard documentation, classification certificates, cargo manifests, crew lists, maintenance records, they found nothing at all. Not a single document connecting this ship to any person, company, or nation. Building a steel tanker this size requires hundreds of workers, months of construction, and millions in investment. Someone had designed it, laid the keel, welded the plates, launched it, and crewed it across the ocean. Yet whoever they were had left zero trace in any official maritime system on Earth. According to every database and registry that existed, the Jian Seng had never been built. The ship could not answer the most basic questions every ocean-going vessel should be able to answer. Who built it? Where was it launched? What country commissioned it? What cargo did it carry? Who crewed it? It was physically real. Steel, rust, paint, sitting in the Coral Sea. On paper, it was a ghost. With no owner to claim it, and environmental contamination from residual fuel becoming a serious risk, Australian authorities made the only choice available. The Jian Seng was towed into deep water and deliberately sunk. The ship that had appeared from nowhere was dragged back out to sea and scuttled, taking whatever physical clues about its origins, crew, and purpose down to the ocean floor. The one object that could have answered everything now rests beyond reach. It remains the only vessel in modern maritime history deliberately destroyed by a government unable to determine where it came from, who built it, or who owned it. No crew members were ever identified. No owner ever emerged. No country ever claimed it. Theories about illegal fuel smuggling, abandoned fishing operations, or insurance fraud have circulated for years, but without a single document or crew member to examine, every theory remains pure speculation. The answers, if they ever existed, sank with the ship. The Jian Seng was erased from existence, towed out and sunk, its identity buried with it. But some vessels lost to the ocean refused to stay forgotten. In 1915, a wooden ship was crushed by Antarctic ice and sank into the Weddell Sea, vanishing for over a century. In 2022, someone finally found her, still intact, still bearing her name. In August 1914, as Europe descended into the First World War, an Irish-born explorer named Ernest Shackleton was preparing for a different kind of campaign. His target was Antarctica. His plan was audacious: sail to the Weddell Sea, land on the Antarctic coast, and march across the entire continent on foot. Roughly 1,800 miles of the most hostile terrain on Earth. No one had ever attempted it.
Shackleton had already pushed toward the South Pole in 1909 and made the agonizing decision to turn back 97 miles short. He had no intention of failing again. He assembled a crew of 27 men, sailors, scientists, a carpenter, a photographer, and secured a 3-masted barkentine built specifically for polar conditions, with a hull reinforced to withstand pack ice. He named her Endurance, after his family motto, "By endurance we conquer." It would prove to be the most fitting name in maritime history, though not in the way anyone expected. Winston Churchill himself approved the expedition with a single-word telegram: proceed. In December 1914, the Endurance left South Georgia Island and headed south into the ice. By January 1915, the Weddell Sea had closed around them. Pack ice locked the ship in place. No way forward, no way to turn, no way back. The expedition was finished before it truly started. 28 men were trapped aboard a wooden ship, 700 miles from any inhabited land. For 10 months, they remained frozen in place, maintaining routines, hunting seals and penguins, caring for the sled dogs, playing football on the ice. Shackleton's real weapon was discipline and morale. He kept the men occupied, resolved tensions before they escalated, and never showed doubt. But the ice never stopped moving, pressing inward with a slow, grinding force that nothing could resist. By October 1915, the pressure was crushing the hull. Timbers snapped like gunshots. Water rushed through widening fractures. Shackleton ordered everyone off. They salvaged supplies, the 3 lifeboats and the dogs, dragging everything onto the ice. On November 21st, the Endurance slipped beneath the surface and was gone. 28 men now stood on a drifting ice floe with 3 small boats and whatever provisions they had managed to grab. The outside world had no idea what had happened. The Endurance carried no radio powerful enough to reach civilization. Shackleton's wife, Emily, would hear nothing from him for almost 2 years. Shackleton knew rescue would not come. No one knew their location, no way to signal for help. Survival meant saving themselves. For months, they drifted north on the ice, rationing food and enduring temperatures that froze clothing solid. When the ice floe fractured beneath them in April 1916, they launched the 3 lifeboats into the open sea. After a week of brutal, freezing conditions, they reached Elephant Island, a barren, wind-scoured outcrop off the Antarctic coast. It was solid ground for the first time in nearly 500 days. But the island was uninhabited and unknown to shipping routes. No rescue would find them there. Shackleton made the decision that would define the entire expedition. He selected 5 men to sail the James Caird, a 22-foot open lifeboat, across 1,300 kilometers of the Southern Ocean to reach a whaling station on South Georgia Island. The Southern Ocean was the most violent water on Earth. For 16 days, they battled 40-foot waves and constant gales, navigating by sextant and rare glimpses of sun through the storm, half frozen and starving, until South Georgia's mountains finally emerged on May 10,
1916. But they had landed on the wrong side of the island.
An unmapped mountain range stood between them and the whaling station at Stromness. Shackleton, Crean, and Worsley crossed those mountains in 36 hours without sleep, using only an adze, rope, and screws driven into their boot soles for traction, across terrain no one had ever traversed. When they stumbled into the station, the manager could not comprehend how anyone had arrived from that direction.
3 more rescue attempts were blocked by pack ice over the following months. Finally, on August 30, 1916, Shackleton reached Elephant Island. Every single one of the 22 men he had left behind was still alive. 22 months of shipwreck, ice camps, open boat voyages, starvation, and frostbite. Not a single life lost.
For over a century, the Endurance rested on the Weddell Sea floor at a location known only from the ship's log. But the sea itself was nearly impenetrable, choked with pack ice, battered by storms, thousands of meters deep. Multiple expeditions tried and failed to find her.
Then, in March 2022, the Endurance 22 expedition deployed advanced deep-sea technology into those freezing waters and finally located the wreck. She was sitting upright at 3,008 meters, her wooden hull intact, brass fittings still gleaming, and the ship's name still legible on the stern, more than 107 years after sinking.
The extreme cold, low oxygen, and absence of wood-eating organisms had preserved the Endurance almost exactly as she appeared when she sank. The same Weddell Sea that crushed Shackleton's expedition had become the perfect preservation chamber, freezing the ship in time. Shackleton himself never returned to those waters. He died of a heart attack on South Georgia Island in January 1922 at 47. But his ship endured, sitting upright in the darkness for more than a century, waiting to be found. The ice that destroyed the expedition also saved the ship. The crew that lost their vessel managed to save themselves. And the ship that failed its mission became one of the most remarkable deep-sea discoveries ever made.
The Endurance truly earned its name. 107 years in Antarctic darkness, perfectly preserved, while every member of its crew survived the ordeal that put her there. The Endurance endured. Her crew survived. That outcome was extraordinary. In these waters, the vessel usually comes back and the crew does not. In August 1942, that darker pattern played out again, though not on the ocean, but in the sky above it. 2 men vanished from a Navy blimp, and they left behind something even stranger than an empty ship. By mid-1942, the United States had been at war for 8 months. Japanese submarines had already attacked the California coast, shelling the Elwood oil refinery near Santa Barbara, and the Navy knew the Pacific approaches to San Francisco were vulnerable. Their response was unconventional, lighter-than-air patrol blimps. Slow and conspicuous, but capable of spotting submarines from altitudes that surface ships could never match. Moffett Field, south of San Francisco, served as a hub for these coastal patrols, with crews flying regular missions over the Pacific approaches to the Golden Gate. On the morning of August 16, the L-8 launched from Treasure Island in San Francisco Bay for what should have been a straightforward patrol, fly a search pattern over the coastal waters, watch for submarines, and return to base. The crew had no reason to expect anything unusual that day.
The two-man crew consisted of Lieutenant Ernest DeWitt Cody, the pilot, and Ensign Charles Ellis Adams, the co-pilot. Both were trained Navy airmen with solid records. Cody was particularly respected as one of the most capable blimp pilots on the West Coast, with extensive lighter-than-air flight hours.
They climbed into the gondola, a small enclosed cabin suspended beneath the blimp's massive gas envelope, ran through their pre-flight checks, confirmed radio contact with the ground station, and reported ready for launch. The weather was clear. Visibility was excellent. It was a mission they had flown before. They would not return from this one. L8 launched at dawn, heading west over the Golden Gate Bridge into the Pacific. Shore observers tracked the blimp's progress along its assigned search grid. Cody and Adams checked in by radio at regular intervals, reporting nothing unusual. Two experienced airmen on a familiar route in clear weather. Every contact was routine. Every report was normal. Around 7:50 in the morning, observers on the coast watched the blimp descend toward the ocean's surface near what appeared to be an oil slick, a possible submarine contact, exactly the kind of threat the patrol was designed to detect. The blimp hovered low over the water for several minutes. Then, it rose again. After that, L8 did not resume its search pattern. Instead, it drifted back toward the coast with erratic altitude changes. Radio contact had gone silent. The ground station called repeatedly. No response. For the next several hours, the blimp floated eastward with no one apparently controlling it, gradually losing pressure as it drifted toward California. Something had happened over that oil slick. Between that moment and what came next, both men had vanished from a sealed cabin. By late morning, the partially deflated L8 was descending over the residential neighborhood of Daly City, just south of San Francisco. It struck a rooftop, bounced, dragged along a street, and came to rest against a building. A crowd of civilians, police officers, and military personnel rushed toward the gondola, expecting to find injured crew members. When they reached the cabin and looked inside through the open door, they found it completely empty. Cody and Adams were gone. The gondola door was hanging open. The cabin was undamaged. No blood. No signs of struggle. Two men had been flying this blimp over the Pacific that morning. Now the blimp was here. The men were not. Inside the gondola, investigators found details that only deepened the mystery. Both parachutes were still packed and strapped to the seats, completely untouched. If Cody and Adams had bailed out over the Pacific, they had done so without their parachutes. Both life vests hung in their normal positions. The radio was working. The fuel tanks held enough for hours of additional flight. Every system aboard the L8 was operating exactly as it should have been. The two depth charges were still secured in their racks, unarmed. Whatever Cody and Adams had encountered near that oil slick, they had not engaged it. But the gondola door presented the most troubling detail. Its latch mechanism was specifically designed to prevent accidental opening during flight. Testing confirmed it could not have opened on its own. Someone had deliberately unlatched it. Two men had been flying this blimp. Their parachutes were still in their seats. Where did they go? The Navy's investigation was exhaustive, examining every component, maintenance record, weather data, and radio log. They considered enemy attack, mechanical failure, structural damage, and deliberate abandonment. Nothing fit. No evidence of Japanese gunfire. No structural damage. No mechanical failure. No distress call had ever been transmitted.
After exhausting every possibility, the Navy's official conclusion was stark. Cause of crew loss undetermined. The blimp was intact. The equipment was functional. The only things missing were the 2 men who had been flying it. An extensive search of the waters off San Francisco turned up nothing. No bodies, no clothing, no personal effects. More than 80 years have passed since the L-8 landed on a Daly City street with its door open and cabin empty. Neither Lieutenant Cody nor Ensign Adams has ever been found.
The blimp itself was repaired and returned to active service, flying additional patrols for the rest of the war without incident. The machine came home from every mission after that August morning. Its crew did not.
A 12-meter catamaran with its engine still idling, GPS locked on course, a meal half prepared below deck, 3 experienced sailors gone without a trace. A steel tanker the size of a city block drifting in the Coral Sea, with no name, no flag, no crew, and no record of existing in any maritime database on Earth. A wooden ship sitting upright on the Antarctic seafloor at 3,000 meters, her name still carved into the stern after 107 years.
And a Navy blimp that landed on a California street with its parachutes packed, its life vests hanging, its fuel tanks full, its radio working, and its cabin empty. 2 pilots vanished somewhere over the Pacific without a distress call or a single trace. 4 vessels across different decades, different oceans, different circumstances. A catamaran, a tanker, a polar ship, a blimp. Each one found intact, each one operational or preserved. Each one separated from the people who had been aboard, under conditions that no coroner, no maritime authority, no Navy investigation could fully explain.
The Queensland coroner had a theory. The Australian government had no records to examine. The Endurance 22 expedition found the ship, but not the answers to what happened on the ice. And the United States Navy could summarize its findings in 3 words: cause undetermined. The machines came back. The crews did not. And whatever happened between those 2 facts, between departure and discovery, between routine and silence, remains the question that none of these investigations ever answered.